Hi, Madeleine here from Sonic Bloom, and this time I want to talk about Live 12 and what the changes in the features have done to either improve or worsen the workflow. Those of you who've been following me for longer know that I find workflow quite important. And obviously this is quite subjective, but I'll try to explain and show my reasoning for why I say I like something in terms of workflow or not. So let me know what you think about all these features in the comments below. So let's get started. So the stacked views. So that's the clip view and the detail view being shown at once. So either you can go through view and then click on device view and you've got both shown. As you can see, the device view is at the bottom always and the clip view is added on top. I think that's absolutely fantastic, and as you could see, or you might have noticed, there's also shortcuts for this. So you've got Command Alt 3 to either show or hide the clip view, and Command Alt 4 to either show or hide the device view, which are new, also great. Next up, we've got the mixer section in the arrangement view, which I think is a really great feature, although in practice, so the way it's implemented, it still needs to be refined. Let me show you what I mean. So we can switch over to arrangement view. We can use the command that already worked for the mixer section in previous versions, so Control on Windows or Command on Mac plus Alt and M to open and close it. But there's also another one, which quite frankly I just find confusing, and that is Alt Shift for both Windows and Mac plus M. It's not a toggle, so you can't turn it off again that way, so I think they should get rid of this one. I actually tried to see if there's any other functionality, because they actually changed more things with the mixer section, because now the mixer section isn't just what you see open right now. It actually also includes the in-out section and the sends, but they can be individually shown or hidden. So I can use Command Alt and I to add the in-out section and toggle this to be hidden again, and I can use the same with S to show or hide the sends. But if I, for example, add the in-out section and I want to just maybe have the in-out section open, and that goes for both views, and I want to hide the mixer section, and I just do the command again, it actually hides everything. So this was something that you could do beforehand, and I kind of got used to it and have used it in my workflow, especially on a laptop screen. And so I actually want this back. Then what you might have noticed is that these little bubbles here on the side are completely gone. What instead we got is this here below. So here you got the in-out sends volume. So there is a way to hide the mixer section, but it's either this way by taking the tick off or by just going through the menu, which is definitely not ideal. So let's open the whole thing again with a shortcut and then take the tick off, and now we got only the in-out section. We got new shortcuts to focus on different views or elements in Ableton Live, and they use Alt for both Windows and Mac. So Alt 0 is the control bar, or what used to be called the transport bar. You can see it's that link is currently selected. This seems to be mostly added for accessibility reasons, but you can of course use it as well. You don't need to change anything for the settings there either. Then we've got Alt 1 focuses on session view, 2 arrangement view, 3 on the clip view, 4 the device view, 5 on the browser, 6 on the groove pool, and 7 opens the help view. Interestingly enough, they haven't added tuning. I can show this. You can go into this new navigate menu and you can see what there are, and tuning exists, but it hasn't been given a shortcut yet. So let's say I want to get rid of the help view again with a shortcut. That's actually not the same thing, but we're going to have to do Command, Alt and 7 to get rid of this. And if you want to get rid of the groove pool, we're going to do Command or Control if you're on Windows, Alt and 6. And let's see if that works for the browser as well. Yes, that works. So there's that. I think it's a great idea. I think all this stuff kind of needs a little bit of refinement still. And we also got some other shortcuts that are really nice the way they were implemented. Let's add the mixer section again and take out the in-out and that. So for example, if you want to reset a parameter to the default, then what you could do before was do a double click, but now you can do it with the keyboard as well. So I can just select this and press delete. And resets to the default, works for everything. And then over the last 2 versions of Live, we'd gotten these cool just one key shortcuts like solo, and those never worked when the computer MIDI keyboard was turned on. So for example, if you wanted to solo a track with S, you would have to, because I have it on right now, press M first and then S to solo the selected track. But what you can do now is, I'm going to turn this off again and then turn the computer MIDI keyboard on, is you can use the modifier Shift and I can still solo the track. And what's even better is that those shortcuts, at least where it makes sense, can work as a momentary shortcut instead of just a toggle. So if I press Shift S again and turn it off, I can, if I hold this, you see it's on, and if I let go, it's off again. So this is really cool, really like this. Another shortcut where this works is for switching between a session and an arrangement view. So if you hold the tab key, I'm in arrangement view, I'm letting it go, I'm back in the session view, or vice versa. Another one where it works, where I find this quite helpful at times, not necessarily with MIDI clips, but this is what I've got here, is zoom. So I can select these. I'm going to have to press Shift and Z or Z wherever you live, and then hold this and it's zoomed in, and if I let go, I'm zoomed out again. So I find those very useful and well thought out. So let's talk about the generators and transformations that were added to MIDI clips in Live 12. Let's go to the generators, and I've got the stacks pre-selected already, but you've got different ones here. I think they're a great idea. I'm not 100% sure about the full implementation. I think it's great for beginners. It's also great if you use your mouse to add MIDI notes in general in your workflow. But if you're someone who kind of uses MIDI controllers a lot to change parameters, then you're out of luck, because not even on push 3 this turns up. And they're not MIDI mappable either. So I'm going to go into the MIDI mapping mode, not key mappable either. And that goes for the transformations as well. And as you can see, there are dials here. So technically, like the drop downs and dials, that should be possible to kind of create in something. So for example, here with arpeggiate, I don't see the use of this because I can't access it from push over using the arpeggiator, especially with the added scale awareness. But that might be just me. And then another thing I find quite confusing is if I create a stack, which is just a chord, I'm just going to use the default here. Then I've got a chord that is a bar long because the clip was a bar long. If I double click, make the clip 4 bars long, and click on this again, then it still says a duration of 1, but it's now 4 bars long. And so if I add new stacks, chords, then this is now 2 bars long each now in between, because it's triplets, and then a bar long. But if I do the same with the other one, then I get quarter notes. So I do find this confusing because in general, everything like this is done in note measures and this isn't properly. I mean, once you kind of adjust things, it's in 1/8 notes. So you can adjust the last or the selected chord to kind of be shortened or lengthened in 1/8 notes. And then the offset works the same way. I do find this inconsistent with everything else in Ableton Live. So let's talk MIDI editing. So the first thing you can do is you can hold E and then you can split wherever you want. So I'm going to undo this. And if I select all 3 of them, then I can actually split them all in the same spot, which I think is great. And if I hold Command E on Mac or Control E on Windows, I can just simply have the selected MIDI notes split as per the grid setting. And if I click somewhere and I don't even have a note selected and I use the same command, then it'll split all the MIDI notes in that position. Also helpful. And there are even more modifiers to do even more complex things. I'm not going to go into detail. So there's lots there. And then you can also join notes. And for this, you can use Command J. And what I like about the Command E and Command J shortcuts is that they're actually something that already works for clips. And so it makes sense to have them used for MIDI notes as well. So that I find really nice and consistent and easy to remember. So let's do join. So if I do Command J, so all the selected clips that have the same pitch will be joined. And then the new short we got in MIDI transformations, which is called Span, is also available via a shortcut, which is fantastic. So here I've got 3 MIDI notes. They don't have the same start position and they don't have the same end position. And let's say I want them to start at 1.2 and end at 1.4. So all I have to do is I need to make a selection. You can also adjust this. And then if you're on Windows, it's Control, Alt, and J, and on Mac, it's Command, Alt, and J, and fixed. Fantastic. So scale awareness, definitely a great feature. Just a workflow tip, it's best to turn it on right away and decide on a scale because it's on a per clip basis, which makes sense because otherwise you will not be able to have key changes in your live set anymore. And if you, for example, create a clip at MIDI notes in C major, then later on decide that you want everything to be in C minor, even if you turn it on, it's not reflected in the clip, so you have to make changes. And I really love that the scale awareness was extended to the MIDI effect where it makes sense. So this is pitch, random, arpeggiator, chord, and scale, where you can see that we all have a scale awareness button that you can turn on in the title. And so let's have a look at how this works in pitch. So before, if I wanted to pitch something up by a third, that often wasn't very musical because there are major and minor thirds. And so if I wanted to pitch it up by a third, you'd have the selection of 4 semitones, which is a major third, and 3 semitones, which is a minor third. And so the result often wasn't very musical. So when I turn this on now, and I choose 3 scale degrees, so this is a third, it'll select the right one for us. So let's actually listen to what we've got without. So I'm going to go and say like a minor third because I'm in C minor right now and just play this. Doesn't sound too bad. And with on. And here you can hear how it should sound in a musical context where the major and minor thirds are actually taken into account. And this works the same for random, arpeggiator, and chord, and of course for scale as well. But before, what you had to do to make sure that it stayed within the right key, you had to always add a scale device, and that is no longer necessary. So this is a workflow improvement, and this particularly makes things easier for either beginners or people who don't really have much of a clue about music theory. And another thing that I really love is that the modulators now finally modulate instead of just automating, although they can still automate. Let me show you what I mean. So first of all, you can see that they've got their own category in the browser and the library. So this goes for the envelope follower, envelope MIDI, expression control, LFO, shaper, and shaper MIDI equally. So they all have this new function. Let me just drag in the LFO to show you. I'm going to make a couple of quick changes. Reduce the depth maybe to 25%. And then I can map this. And I'm going to map it to the pitch, although I'm going to actually change this. And as you can see, it's not grayed out anymore. And instead you have like a going in between where it modulates and a little dot, which means it's modulated. And if I wanted to go to automation, how it worked before, I can just click on this. And now you see the pitch is grayed out again. And this is absolute values. So modulation is relative values, automation, absolute ones. So I'm going to go back to modulation. And I'm actually going to change this to 0. And then we can listen. I'm actually going to play this whole clip without, so you have an understanding of like how these two together are actually really musical and really great to use together now, which wasn't as great before. Right, so without and with. But they're still musical, so. And I just want to give a quick honorable mention to the performance pack because particularly pre-arranger and variations can be really helpful for the workflow and not just for live performance. I'm going to link the tutorial in the description and above as well. So now to the similar sample swap. I love it in Drum Rack. It's a great alternative and much quicker than hot swapping. So all you have to do is turn this little icon on and then you can either just click on here, left and right. Left isn't possible until you've skipped through similar sounds. So this is for the whole Drum Rack. So let's play this. But as you can see, you can go all the way back to the original as well. So this is nice. And if you want to do this just for individual sounds, while this button is turned on, I could also select, well, what sounds do I have playing? Okay, I've got this conga. I'm just gonna as you can see, this is how you can quickly try out different sounds, either for the whole drum kit or for just individual drum sounds. But you can also use the sound similarity in simpler. So all I've got here is the piano upright from the core library, which is in the rack. And then I've got a tuner. And I've got a MIDI clip here that you can see that plays C3. Now let's just get this started and play it and use this. And now it plays a F sharp, a B, a D. This one is good. So as you can see, this doesn't really properly work because all of a sudden they're sampled, loaded. They don't have the same root note. Yes, you could change them, but I don't know. Does it make things quicker? Because then you could use the hot swap. Another thing, the sounds are too similar. Like I don't want pretty much the same sounds. I do want something at least slightly different, and there's very little difference between that. So let's talk about the browser now. So what I do like is that the modulators, as I've mentioned, have gotten their own category, and tunings have their own category that you can use. And there is a search history. So because I've done searches already while having Live open, I could just go back there and go through all the searches that I've done during my live session. So the new filtering system is a good idea in theory, but in practice it's a real mess, I think. So how it works is you have different tags and you can create your own user tags, which is nice. So you can actually unfold this here and then you can see all the tags that are already created by Ableton. And yeah, it's a lot, definitely. One thing that I noticed that definitely is not great and probably is a bug, so I'm hoping that will be fixed, is you've got devices here with a capital D, and then if you go further down, you also have devices with a lowercase d, and this is basically what the audio effect categories that were added in Live 11 as top folders is. And the other ones are different, but the big issue I'm having with all of this is like if I go here to sounds, and I haven't even done a search, this is all the sounds. Like there's no folders anymore, and I have all the Ableton Live packs and then third-party self-installing Live packs as well. And this is a huge mess. So in drums, if I turn this off here, like I can't even find any of the drum sounds, the individual drum sounds. I don't know what any of this is. Is this a full drum rack? All of this? Is this individual drum pads that have, devices attached? Then if I go under instruments, sure, I still have the instruments shown, but then I have this. And then what I often get to is if there's lots, it's like if I go here, and I just scroll down, which takes quite a while, I get shown more. And I've just gotten to B, and it's just, yeah. And then if I go to plugins, I haven't even installed many plugins. So basically I've got the Apple ones that come installed, and then I've got a couple, but they have presets as well. And then they're not in folders anymore either, where it's either an audio unit or a VST. And it's kind of Like at this zooming in, it's easy to see what it is. If you look at this at a smaller screen, then you can't actually see what is what. I'm not happy about this. The way I work quite often is I might look for a preset that's roughly the sound that I want and then tweak it. But then I would say, for example, I want a drift bass sound, right? So if I search for bass and I go to instruments, this is what I get. I don't know what instrument that is. So what I need to do now is say, okay, I want a drift preset. And then I'm shown the drift presets. But that's actually more steps than before. I'm not happy with the browser changes. I think the filtering with the tags would be a great add-on, but the fact that they've gotten rid of a lot of the folders, I don't like it. That's it for me. I would love to hear comments. Let me know what you think about any of this, particularly if you had the chance already to also use the beta. Well, I hope you found this helpful. If so, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.